689 million people. According to the World Bank, this is the amount of people that live in extreme poverty. Now, what that means is that each of these people live on less than $2 a day. That's roughly $1.90 a day. This is a baffling statistic. Almost 10% of the world is suffering and can't afford basic necessities, from things like food to water and especially to shelter. Millions of people are living without common things that we frankly take for granted. And when looking for a solution, there aren't that many options. However, one group that is making tremendous strides in fighting this awful future is Habitat for Humanity. From their amazing work on creating low-income housing to their work in cheap home repairs, this group does their best to help as many people as possible in order to eliminate this problem. In this presentation, you will learn about their history, the mission, and their amazing work in their goal to better our world. You will learn about their goals and what they've accomplished in their mission to create the best world we have ever known through volunteer work and donations, as well as their work out in places around the globe, out of our country. We will talk about we will talk about how they go about helping as many people as they do, where they get their funding from people like you and I, to big companies that personally help fund. We will also talk about the Clemson chapter and how any and all of us could go to this chapter in order to assist in the betterment of our world. But anyway, let's get into it.
So, what exactly is Habitat for Humanity? In order to fully understand what it is, it's important to learn a little bit about their background. Habitat for Humanity International was founded in 1976 by Millard and Linda Fuller. Their website discusses how the idea for this company was first developed on a farm right outside of Americus, Georgia. The name of this farm was Koinonia Farm, and according to the Habitat website, it was a community farm where the idea of partnership housing came to be, eventually leading to the Fund for Humanity. This fund consists of the house payments paid by the owners and the loans given by supporters and different fundraisers. The Fullers first arrived at the farm in 1965, and they were looking for a new purpose for their lives. After a few years at this community farm, they were able to come up with the partnership housing idea and start to implement it. The first home that they built using this fund belonged to a couple whose names were Bo and Emma, along with their 5 children. The Habitat website describes this house as a concrete home with a kitchen, bathroom, and a heating system, which is an insane upgrade from the shack that they had been living in before. In 1973, the Fuller couple took this business to Africa, starting their business expansion expedition. When they returned from Africa, they successfully founded the headquarters, which are still located today in Americus, Georgia. The roofing contractor website mentions how it wasn't until 1987 that Habitat for Humanity was established in Africa. Once it was founded, it quickly took off in a variety of places. One reason the Fullers were so successful in their venture was because of the positive and caring attitudes that they had, which can easily be seen in this one quote from Millard Fuller. The quote reads, "For a community to be whole and healthy, it must be based on people's love and concern for each other." This quote, along with many others, can be accessed through the Fuller Center website. The first Habitat for Humanity volunteer came to the program in 1977, and his name was Clive Rainey. He was the first of many volunteers that ended up joining the company. 5 years after their founding, Habitat for Humanity successfully built 342 houses in a wide variety of locations. They're located in all 50 states and over 70 countries around the world. In 1987, Habitat for Humanity began to expand to include campuses around the United States. These groups, called campus chapters, are groups of students who partner with their local Habitat for Humanity in order to raise awareness and money, and even just volunteer themselves. In 1991, Habitat for Humanity opened their first Habitat Restore in Winnipeg, Canada. It later ended up coming to the United States as well. These new stores were owned and operated by their local Habitat for Humanity organizations and were another way to earn more money for the organization. People were able to donate reusable household items along with building materials that they might not have a use for anymore. These items are then sold for a discounted price, and all the profits are used to build new homes for the surrounding communities. In 2007, a new tradition was started between the Habitat for Humanity organization and the Rockefeller Christmas tree. Every year, when they take the tree down, they donate all the wood from the tree to Habitat for Humanity in order to build new houses for that community and not waste any of the wood. In 2012, Habitat established the Micro Build Fund, which helps low-income customers with the availability of loans. It's a $100 million fund and is continually helping people in a wide variety of countries every year. As if this company could not get any better, they also offer their help to families who have been impacted by natural disasters. In the 2 years following the Indian Ocean tsunami, which happened in 2004, Habitat for Humanity was able to help approximately 10,000 families in India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. This deadly disaster changed the lives of millions of people. With the help of Habitat for Humanity, these people were able to rebuild their homes and try to get a sense of normalcy back into their lives. In 2005, Habitat for Humanity launched a project called Operation Home Delivery to begin helping people impacted by Hurricane Katrina and Rita that lived along the U.S. Gulf Coast. In 2010, Habitat for Humanity helped around 50,000 families impacted by the Haiti earthquake that were living in shelters, and they helped them improve their current living conditions. With over 30 years of experience, Habitat for Humanity is continually helping people around the world when they need it most.
Now that you know the background about Habitat for Humanity, let's talk about their mission and what they hope to accomplish. According to John Dupree, writer for the Habitat for Humanity's website, the organization was founded with the following mission. Seeking to put God's love into action, Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Habitat for Humanity is a global nonprofit housing organization working in local communities across all 50 states in the U.S. and in approximately 70 countries. Habitat's vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. From humble beginnings to now spanning across the globe, Habitat for Humanity can provide aid to those who truly need it most. Their guiding principles include the following: demonstrate the love of Jesus Christ, focus on shelter, advocate for affordable housing, promote dignity and hope, and support sustainable and transformative development. Their guiding principles define the spirit of the nonprofit and has helped it grow into the expansive network of aid giving that it is today. As far as their guiding principles, demonstrating the love of Jesus Christ does not simply mean one has to believe in or worship Jesus, but that they mirror his actions here on earth in everyday life. Someone must be caring, promote selflessness, have a devotion to things larger than themselves, as well as have a genuinely good heart. The second one, focusing on shelter, emphasizes the importance of the home not only as a refuge from the outside world, but also as a shelter of the heart, keeping you safe, giving you a place to rest your head at night, helping you to feel rested and recharged and ready to go back out into the world to make a positive difference. Their third tenet focuses more on the overall goal of Habitat, which is advocating for affordable housing. The organization only has a limited amount of time, energy, and resources that it can allocate to building houses. So by petitioning for countries, cities, communities, petitioning all of their governments to aid them and provide affordable housing options for lower income families, it can greatly impact the communities that Habitat cares so deeply for. By petitioning governments to continue to provide resources, both financially and home-based, they can allow for people to have places to live despite the rising cost of rent. This also helps homeless people who may have fallen upon hard times and need a place to live, but may not qualify for existing government housing options. As for promoting dignity and hope, asking for help is not always easy, especially when people feel hopeless. So by providing aid in a way that doesn't make it seem like charity, and by ensuring recipients are involved in the process and give back to the community in exchange for their house, it restores the dignity and strength of the recipient and gives them a home and gives them hope for a better future in that home. Some people are stubborn. Some people don't like accepting help. They feel that their pride is more important than their ability to have a happy and healthy life. So by making them work for it, making them feel like they're part of the process, like they're not a burden, it does greatly increase the chances that they'll, one, accept the help, and two, take care of the home once it's been built for them. Their final tenet focuses on what happens after the home is built. Habitat's leadership team believes that by facilitating safe and affordable housing and teaching skills for success along the way, it will create safer neighborhoods and teach people to take pride in their homes and their communities, and hopefully foster an environment where people value hard work and giving back. All that to say, despite their emphasis on faith as a guiding principle and help developing people into caring, kind individuals that mirror the spirit of Jesus Christ, which the two founders were deeply religious and had roots in their local community, in their church, Habitat for Humanity has a strict non-proselytizing policy and does not advocate nor tolerate their homes being used as tools of coercion to draw others to a particular faith or religion. Habitat for Humanity also does not discriminate based on religion, nor do they refuse to aid other people who practice different faiths. Overall, Habitat for Humanity has a very people-based model, and their mission is to help people and to provide aid for people who otherwise would not be able to provide for themselves.
Now that we know their mission, let's discuss who Habitat for Humanity provides homes and aid to. According to Habitat for Humanity's website, there are 3 qualifications for ownership of a Habitat home. The first being the need for better housing. This may seem obvious since the mission for Habitat for Humanity is to provide people with homes, but this applies to more than just the desire for a home. Many recipients of a Habitat for Humanity home, such as Dolores Fitch, whose story is highlighted in the Clemson University published dissertation, Rebuilding Social Organization in Low-Income Neighborhoods, The Influence of Habitat for Humanity by John Lattimore, are living in areas ridden with crime and violence. She previously lived in government-subsidized housing, but, quote, she was tired of hearing the violence outside her thin apartment walls. She was tired of being shuffled around and forced to move several times in government housing. But most of all, she was tired of worrying about how this environment would affect her 3 grandchildren living with her. Additionally, as previously discussed, Habitat for Humanity also helps those who have been affected by natural disasters and whose homes are no longer safe. The second requirement is a willingness to partner with Habitat. Those selected must be willing to, quote, help build their own home and the homes of others in the Habitat for Humanity house building program, or volunteer at a Habitat Restore. Habitat Restores are home improvement stores owned and operated by Habitat for Humanity affiliates. They sell home goods such as used furniture, building materials, and appliances at a discounted price. Proceeds from these stores are then used to fund future Habitat projects. The current requirement of hours rendered is 400. In addition to helping build their homes, classes on proper home ownership as well as personal finance are required to ensure the future homeowner will be a good steward of their new home. The third requirement is the ability to pay the mortgage. New homeowners are still required to pay their monthly mortgage and must do so to be allowed to continue living in a Habitat for Humanity home. Once again referencing Miss D's story, the mortgage is a fair price that is both, quote, interest-free and similar to what she paid for in her public housing. Habitat for Humanity currently operates in all 50 states as well as over 70 countries worldwide. Since its founding, Habitat has built over 3,000 new homes, repaired over 1,100, and rehabilitated 167 in South Carolina alone. Worldwide, they have built, repaired, or rehabilitated over 600,000 homes, serving an estimated 13.2 million people. This is thanks in part to the millions of people who give their time to volunteer on these projects. In 2017 alone, over 2 million people volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. They also operate in the upstate, more specifically right here on Clemson's campus. In the fall of 2021, the Clemson University chapter of Habitat for Humanity conducted their 29th home build during homecoming week. During that week, members and volunteers spent time constructing the framework, roof, and exterior walls of a home right on Bowman Field. That home was then shipped off to be completed and used by a family in need. During that week, over 900 Clemson students and employees gave their time to help with the construction. Groups that volunteered included athletic teams, Clemson Life, CCIT, and countless other student clubs and organizations. There were 943 hour-long spots for volunteers to sign up. The Clemson chapter is also assisted by the Pickens County Habitat for Humanity, which builds approximately 3 homes each year for families in need. Projects like the home build are unique and demonstrate the connection between the Clemson student body and Habitat for Humanity. The Clemson chapter is the only Atlantic Coast Conference chapter to conduct a project like this one. The Clemson chapter of Habitat for Humanity has been around for 30 years and serves the community through service projects and fundraisers like this one. When asked about his experience with Habitat for Humanity, former Clemson chapter president Joey DeSimone says, quote, "Working with Habitat was one of the most rewarding things about my college experience. Being able to do work that will immediately and positively impact the lives of those in your community is something very special." DeSimone also says that coming from a large city like Philadelphia, he has seen firsthand what the effects of inaccessible, low-quality housing can do to a community. Quote, "Having safe and affordable housing is one of the biggest factors that set apart what we call good and bad areas. And most of the time it is out of the control of the people who live there. It's hard to make positive change in a community when portions of the population do not have a safe place to live. Fixing it is almost like step one. Students, faculty, staff, and community members are always welcome to volunteer or donate."
As we move on from who Habitat provides aids to, we can talk about how all of their work is possible. Habitat for Humanity relies heavily on volunteers and donations from both individuals and corporations to fund their initiatives. The financial situation of Habitat for Humanity was broken down in a book written by Bala Moleth, where she noted that Habitat manages almost $24 million in assets. Their $4 million in revenue in 2016 was composed of both revenue from mixed income, mixed revenue programming, and other more typical funding sources like charitable donations and government grants. In 2015, about 42% of its revenue came from charitable donations, 31% from program services, and 27% from other revenue. The Habitat for Humanity program allows for partner families to be given a zero-interest loan, which are reinvested in the program to be used for future development. The program also sells lots at market rate to developers to generate revenue. Moleth noted, in the past, Habitat has engaged in creative housing projects to more flexibly address the area's housing needs. including a program targeting people earning 60% and 120% AMI, but discontinued using this model as they did not want to compete with market values, rather provide where the market does not. Using Charlottesville, Virginia as its case study for the impoverished housing market, Habitat for Humanity found that there is a significant undersupply of housing for the families earning less than 50% AMI in the city. Charlottesville is an area where the average cost of a single-family home is $430,000. A price that families of four earning less than $63,000, the median income of the area, would be unable to afford. To be eligible for Habitat housing, a family of four in the area would have to earn between $19,440 and $46,480 a year, 25% and 60% AMI respectively. The model that Habitat for Humanity developed in Charlottesville has proven that mixed income housing is a long-term, more sustainable solution to impoverished housing areas. Since its conception in the 1960s, Habitat for Humanity has housed over 1.7 million people in the U.S. alone, and 39 million worldwide. They don't only provide new housing for impoverished families, they also provide services to fix older housing and provide newer amenities to houses without them, as well as repair services for houses that may be in need. This is only possible because of the wide net of support from countless volunteers, as well as donations and the other avenues of revenue that the program makes. Habitat for Humanity uses some of its money to purchase and resell properties and housing that it has created in areas where there is no need for lower or mixed income housing. Using volunteer work and government grants, Habitat for Humanity has provided housing all over the world in emergency circumstances and in impoverished areas. Habitat for Humanity mostly relies on grants and donations to help areas in need. Habitat Restore is a subsection of Habitat for Humanity that provides a retail reselling of merchandise for the public at a fraction of regular retail prices. The Habitat Restore uses the sale of donated items to provide their customers with cheaper alternatives to larger box stores, and they use the proceeds for new projects in their local communities. Habitat Restore was started in 1991 and has contributed to more than 400 communities worldwide. Maxlight, a manufacturer of energy-efficient lighting, has donated $10 million to Habitat Restore alone, making them a top contributor and providing much of the funds needed for Restore to operate. Consider volunteering or donating to your local Habitat Restore.
And as we wrap up this presentation about Habitat for Humanity, it is crystal clear that throughout the decades and decades of hard work, charitable volunteering, and amazing, dutiful work done for others, that this group, this program, has been able to provide homes and affordable home repair to all of those that need it most. From their start in 1976, Habitat for Humanity has made millions and millions of people blessed. Their amazing work has helped countless in the betterment of our world. In our community, in the United States, even throughout the world, this group has made an impact that can never be undermined. Even in Clemson, much closer, this group has assisted as many kids as possible to personally volunteer in order to help each of them build and create a better world. We, as a group, hope that you strongly consider volunteering and assisting with their amazing work in your life. We hope you have learned a lot about this organization and how you could become involved if you so chose, to help us create a better world and a better future by assisting all those who don't have the luxuries that we do. So thank you for listening. consider volunteering, and have a wonderful day.